Tomorrow, on December 7th, 2018, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will be officially released. It's been quite a ride these past 9 months. We've had a few Nintendo Directs, we've had more leaks than you could ever possibly imagine, so many characters, so many stages, so much music, and above all, so much excitement. So tomorrow, we embrace the newest entry of the Smash Bros. Series with open arms. It'll be a new experience for everyone. We get to live the next chapter of our Smash Bros. Stories together. I am more ready for this game than I have been for any other video game in my entire life. Which is a pretty bold statement to make, but it's still true. I have never been as excited for a video game as I am for Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's insane. I've bought so many amiibo. I've bought controllers specifically to play Smash Brothers. I even made sure I got a 400 gigabyte micro SD card just so I could keep the game on my system without having to delete it to make room for other games. I guess you could say I'm dedicated. But before we do that, there's one question that needs to be asked. Why am I so devoted to Smash Brothers? What led me to the position I'm in today? What exactly happened in my life that caused me to love this series with all my heart and consider myself a Smash Bros. Fan? Well, in order to answer that question, we have to go back to the year 2008 with Super Smash Bros. Brawl and the Nintendo Wii. Now, before we get officially started with the story, I would like to apologize in advance because my throat is kind of rough today. I'm feeling a little sick, not the best condition in the world, but I'm still going to persevere and make this video for you guys, so hope you enjoy. So, it's December of 2008. And the holiday rush is among us. And my family was wondering what to get me for Christmas that year. My parents had already established that I was getting a Nintendo Wii, and so my family members, in response, decided to get me some Nintendo Wii games. This was the first video game console I had ever owned. I didn't have much experience with games prior to this moment, and yeah, the Wii being the first console I ever owned is kind of weird to say, but it is true. So my family members got me various games, and I don't remember all of them, but there were 4 in particular that stick out to me. Wii Sports, which, well, duh, of course I had that. It came with every Wii system. Wii Play, the awkward stepbrother of Wii Sports. Big League Sports, which was indeed a video game that was made by people and released, unfortunately. And of course, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And again, I don't remember all of them. Those are just the ones that stick out to me. I'm pretty sure I got more than that, but I can't quite remember all of the games, if there were more than 4, that is. So I played the other games and had a grand old time with them, except Big League Sports. I never really liked that game. And some point between the end of Christmas and the start of the new year, I decided to pop Super Smash Bros. Brawl into my Nintendo Wii and figure out what this game was. Just looking at the cover, I was so intimidated by it. What's Mario and Pikachu doing here? And why do they look so angry? Rated T? T? What is that? Teen? As in teenager? I'm not old enough to play this. What's Mario doing in a T-rated game? That's so weird. This box art sent a million different signals my way, and I couldn't interpret any of them. So, instead of asking myself more questions, I decided to get some answers by popping in the game and trying it for myself. And, whew boy, it was a doozy. So after watching the opening intro and being enthralled by all the characters, I realized something. Wow, I don't know any of these people. Like seriously, let me list off all the characters I knew prior to starting the game. There was, of course, Mario and Sonic. Those are the 2 big ones. They're gaming icons. How could I not know them? I knew Luigi, Peach, and Bowser. Also, when I was a kid, I swear I actually was not able to fully read things. So instead of saying Bowser, I called him Bownzer, with an N in there. God, it's only when you look on past memories that you cringe so hard at your decisions. It's just, it's rough, man. It's rough. I knew of Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Wario, and Yoshi. However, I never knew that they actually had their own series of games outside of the Mario series. So I was introduced to the Donkey Kong Country games, WarioWare, and the Yoshi's Island series. I knew of Pokemon, but I didn't know any specific Pokemon. Like, I knew Pikachu, and that was about it. All these other ones were new to me. And amazingly enough, I didn't actually know about Kirby from his games. You want to know how I found out about Kirby?
Kirby, that's the name you should know. Kirby, he's the star of the show.
Yeah, that's right. I found out about Kirby through the 4Kids dub of the Kirby anime. Isn't that the weirdest thing ever? But outside of that, yeah, I had no idea who any of these guys were. And before you get angry at me, in my defense, how is a 7-year-old in 2008 supposed to know what Metal Gear Solid and Fire Emblem are? Like, seriously, you're asking a lot there. All these other characters just seemed so foreign to me. Like, I didn't know what Zelda was. There was no way in hell I was gonna know what Ice Climbers and Mr. Game & Watch were. Are you kidding me? So this was actually my introduction to a lot of these other Nintendo series. This is what allowed me to find out what exactly Star Fox and Kid Icarus were. And for that, I can't be more grateful. And I'm sure I would have found out about all these series eventually, but it's nice to have an official introduction rather than having it all splurred out to me over the course of years. So after watching the enthralling intro cutscene and pressed any button to continue, I was using a Wii remote. So the button I pressed was A. And believe it or not, that actually is important. You see, when I first started playing Brawl, I used the Wii remote held upright. Yeah, the concept of holding it sideways with the 1 and 2 buttons on the right and the D-pad on the left was just unheard of to me at the time. I hadn't played New Super Mario Bros., it didn't exist yet. And I hadn't gotten to the point in Wii Play where you actually held the Wii remote sideways. Plus, I was so used to the games actually telling me exactly how to play before I got in, rather than me going in figuring things out for myself, or going to the menu to find out tutorials, or reading the instruction booklet. I obviously took the first option, and as a result, I was left fondling through the menus and just trying to figure out why the A button wouldn't be the accept button. It just wasn't working, and I thought I was being stubborn, or the game was bad and broken. And I mean, Brawl is still kind of broken, but that's a whole other topic. So my mom tried to direct me around the menus, and eventually I figured out that the 2 button was the accept button. Don't ask me what made me think of that, but despite figuring this out, I still didn't turn the Wii remote sideways. Then again, you can't entirely blame me for that because the game, again, doesn't tell you this unless you wait at the title screen. I'm a 7-year-old kid. Do you think I have patience? So my mom tried to direct me into the classic mode menu, and I picked Fire Mario because the A button was actually the button that was used on the Wii remote to cycle through your skins. And it was just so weird. The first stage in classic mode from Brawl has you fight a Zelda character, or Zelda characters, on the Elden Bridge, and the one I got was Sheik. Again, I didn't know anything about Zelda at this point. In fact, there were actually certain characters in this game that weren't revealed to me at the start simply because I didn't have all the characters unlocked. That wouldn't happen for quite some time. So, amazingly enough, despite the fact that I was holding the Wii remote sideways and just mashing random crap until something happened, I won! I actually won the first Smash Bros. Fight I ever faced against an easy computer on classic mode. And it was at this point that I decided, okay, yeah, I'm done. I don't like this game. And so I didn't touch it for a couple weeks. Sometime later, I actually decided to look at the back of the box, and I noticed that you could use the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. Every Wii system comes with a Wii Remote and a Nunchuck, as far as I'm aware. And so I plugged it into my controller and started playing that way. And I can tell you, my enjoyment with the game increased immensely. I actually knew how to play. It was so weird. Why is the C button jump? So I played a bunch of matches trying to figure out how the game's mechanics work. I never found out how to use the shield properly until I played Smash 4, so that kind of tells you everything you need to know right there. I was jumping around, hitting dudes, having a fun time, and then all of a sudden, it says Challenger approaching. And the first character I fought was Ness. So yeah, I got introduced to Mother and Earthbound through the series as well. It's Very strange time for me. Also, again, how do you expect me to know that one? I was 7. Leave me alone. Some time passes, and I eventually make the connection that the more battles you play, the more characters you'll unlock. And so, I eventually just fought the computer a bunch of times, unlocked Ness, Luigi, Marth, and all the others. And yes, as a kid, I went through the whole process of unlocking the characters by playing matches and not Subspace Emissary. I mean, come on, I didn't even know how to navigate Classic mode. You expect me to go to Subspace and have a good time? And after doing that for a while, my roster was full. I had all 39 characters in Smash Bros. Brawl, and it was just such a cool experience. I had nearly 40 characters from this cast at my disposal, and I wasn't good with any of them at the time. The only character I could really pick up and main, of course I didn't even know what those terms were back then, was Captain Falcon. And that's because I thought he was actually good in Brawl. But he got nerfed real hard in that game, and it's just sad, really. So yeah, time passes, I keep playing on my merry way. Eventually I did get to Subspace Emissary. Don't remember why or how, but I did, and I really liked those cutscenes, because, you know, I was a kid. Of course I'm going to be amazed by this. I watched all the cutscenes in awe and found out that you can unlock characters by going through a Subspace Emissary. Would have been nice to know back then, before I did that. Now, that's all fine and good. I didn't really play the game with friends back then because I didn't know anyone from my school who was into Nintendo games. I knew people who are into video games, but this is the time period where everyone's trying to show off how big their dick is. Actually, some would argue that we're still in that time period, because they think Call of Duty is the hottest shit ever, and they think they're really cool and hardcore for playing it. Meanwhile, I was sitting over here with my copy of Mario Galaxy, simply having fun, which I thought was the point of video games, but that shows what I know. So yes, because of the time period, I got bullied for liking Nintendo games, especially considering by this point stuff like Halo 3 and several Call of Duties had come out on the Xbox 360 anyways. So lots of people were playing that, and I was just sitting over here with my Wii. So because of this, I never really had friends that played Wii games with me. And by 2012, it didn't matter because we moved on to the Wii U. Some would argue it does actually matter because the Wii U flopped, but we didn't know that at the time. Well, I guess more accurately, I didn't know it at the time. But after playing Brawl for a while and having my fair share of fun, I decided, alright, you know what, that's enough. I'm going to move on to some other cool games. And thus, I am greeted to the E3 2011 press conference. I don't remember how I saw it, but they did end up showing the clip of Satoru Iwata announcing a Smash Bros. Game both on the handheld system and the HD consoles that they had at the time. Those, of course, being the 3DS and the Wii U. And now they have the Switch, which is a handheld and an HD console, which is kind of funny. So at this point, I was wondering, wait, there's a Smash Bros. Game coming to Wii U and 3DS? That's kind of weird. I knew of the 3DS, and in Christmas of 2011, I got my first one, but the Wii U was this new concept to me. I didn't know anything about it at the time, and was just gonna kind of keep it in the back burner until it became important. And some would say it never did. I wouldn't say they're wrong. But before that, I went to the Nintendo channel. Yeah, you guys remember that? Back when they had separate channels for the Wii in order to sell that sort of television vibe that they had going on? Well, they had the Nintendo channel, and on it they had the segment of Nintendo Week. And through that, they announced that Super Smash Bros. 64 was going to be coming to the Virtual Console service. And as someone who only played Brawl, this kind of freaked me out a little bit. I never knew of Smash Bros. Prior to Brawl. In fact, I wouldn't even know what Melee was until like, what, 2013, 2014, something like that? But looking at Smash 64, I thought, this is actually pretty cool. It was very obviously a downgrade from what I was already used to, but I was still intrigued. It was a new Smash Bros. Game after all. So after asking my mom to go out and purchase a classic controller, because as it turned out you actually needed one in order to start playing Smash 64, I ended up purchasing the game on the Wii Shop channel and playing it. And I actually had a really fun time with it. It was simple, but fun. I had a bunch of fun playing on it, but as time went on, I eventually got an Action Replay SD card for my Nintendo Wii, and there's actually a part of it that's supposed to come off on the back part. I don't remember why it happens, but there's a part that you remove and then you put that other end into your computer and do something, I'm not quite sure. At some point or another, that back part got stuck in my SD card slot on my Wii, and as a result, I couldn't get an SD card in there. So, because of this, I couldn't transfer my Wii data over to my Wii U. It just simply wasn't possible. And so, I traded in my Wii, knowing I would never be able to play those games ever again. And with the Wii Shop channel closing here relatively soon, I think it's safe to say I'll never officially own Smash 64 ever again, even if I wanted to. Because I am not paying those prices for N64 games. Oh no. So then, more time passes, and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS gets officially announced at E3 2013. And again, I hadn't seen the presentations live myself. I got the information secondhand. Although I did actually watch the E3 presentation that Nintendo had live that year, because that's when I figured out how I would get a lot of my information for Nintendo games that I wanted to play. So I watched the presentation and they showed Smash Bros. And I was just so thrilled to see it. Not even to play it, but just to look at it. Like, the way they presented it was just amazing. They've got all these characters with crisp HD visuals. They got some new ones in there, like the villager from Animal Crossing, which I thought was really weird, but hey, that was cool. And despite not being in Brawl, I did actually know of Animal Crossing prior to Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, so I knew of the villager and his origins. And then the trailer continues, and we see a new challenger approaching, Mega Man. And amazingly enough, I knew what Mega Man was prior to this announcement. Yeah, my uncle actually was watching some Mega Man videos on YouTube at some point, and I caught a glimpse of it, and so I knew what Mega Man was at that point, and that's about it. So I recognized the character when he got announced for Smash Bros., so I was actually fairly excited for that. Of course, I never actually used him in the new game, but you know, that's not important. Time passes and I see the Wii Fit Trainer get announced for Smash 4, and I was just kind of confused, but I thought it was actually kind of funny. Like, it just seems so bizarre to me at the time. It still does to this day. After this, the Miiverse service that Sakurai had with the pictures of the day ended up launching, and I looked at a lot of them. I don't think I saw all of them, but I did see a good chunk of them. And at this point in time, I didn't dedicate myself to watching Nintendo Directs live when they happened. So at this point, I saw some Directs live, and then some afterwards. Some of them I didn't even watch at all. So I knew about some characters when they got announced, but not all of them. I knew about Rosalina and Luma, and I played Mario Galaxy quite extensively at that point, so I definitely knew who those characters were. Little Mac from Punch-Out, and I knew what Punch-Out was at that point, and it was a really cool reveal. Probably the second best reveal trailer out of all the ones they have for Smash 4. Would have been nice if I didn't see the picture of the day saying outright that Little Mac was in the game prior to having that trailer shown. Like, seriously, I looked through Sakurai's posts, and I saw the one with Little Mac being announced, and then there was the post with the trailer featuring his announcement in the game. You know, if those had been flipped around, that would have been great. And so time passes, and all these other characters get announced, and that's all fine, well, and good. E3 2014 happens, and they announce Mii Fighters, Palutena, Pac-Man, and the Amiibo line, which, believe it or not, is actually important to the story. Because at this point in time, I was into Toys to Life. I actually bought Disney Infinity the previous year, and was planning on getting the 2.0 edition later in 2014 when it actually launched. Also, in Christmas of 2013, I actually got Skylanders Swap Force. I no longer own the game, but I did have it at one point and was into Skylanders for a short period of time. But eventually I got tired of it and they ended up oversaturating their own damn market, so I kind of gave up on it. Amiibo were really cool to me because instead of just taking these generic monster designs with no soul and heart put into them, or weird jank versions of Disney and Pixar characters, these were famous video game characters that looked pretty much identical to their original counterparts. No major altercations whatsoever. They were just one-to-one little figures of all these characters, and that was just so cool to me. Even for the characters I didn't know too well at the time, and still don't, I do respect the work that went into these things. So time passes and we get the last few character trailers. We get the one for Robin and Lucina, and we get the one for Shulk. Interesting story about Shulk, I actually didn't know who he was prior to his announcement, and I mean, who did? But I saw a prediction video on who the last characters for Smash Bros. On Wii U and 3DS could possibly be, and Shulk was on that list. So I knew of the character because of that video, and after some time passed, I saw the Shulk reveal trailer. And I thought it was cool because, hey, this character that someone wanted actually got into the game. It was very weird, but it was still pretty cool. And then November 21st, 2014 hits, and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U releases. I didn't actually get the 3DS version until January, and I mostly got it just so I could take part in that special promotion that had Mewtwo in it. In fact, I didn't even get the Wii U version when it came out, and I didn't even get either game for Christmas, because Christmas of 2014 is when I got my PS4. So yeah, I didn't actually get Smash Brothers for Christmas that year. Instead, what I had to do was use Christmas money that my family members got me to go to GameStop the next day and pick up a copy of the game then. And the first thing I did when I loaded up my copy of Smash 4 was go into 8-player Smash, which was a mode I was really excited for when it got announced in the 50-Fact Extravaganza, and play with the first 8 characters to ever be in a Super Smash Bros. Game. As you all know, those characters are Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Pikachu, Kirby, Fox, Samus, and Yoshi. And it was really cool. I got to play the game for the very first time. So I ended up playing the game. I went through a bunch of modes like Crazy Orders and Classic, and of course, 8-player Smash, like I already mentioned. And I ended up using my amiibo for the very first time. I think I actually got a few of them before the game launched. So I actually had some just kind of sitting around. I think it was like Mario, Link, and Pikachu were the first ones I got. I think. I can't quite remember. I just kind of had them sitting around. But I did use them in Mario Kart 8 because that functionality had been added to the game at that point. So, that's neat. But I just played a bunch of the modes that the game had to offer, and I had a really fun time. Pretty simple stuff, actually. I just kind of played the game for a while. I didn't know about tech skill and wasn't really into the competitive scene at this point in time, so it wasn't really important to me. And after playing the Wii U game for a bit, I eventually got a copy of the 3DS game so I could register the two on Club Nintendo and get my free Mewtwo code, which didn't come until like 3 months later. And, I don't know, I guess it was worth it. I mean, I got something for free, so that's cool. And I did actually have a lot of fun playing the 3DS version of the game as well, but I can easily say without a doubt that I spent more time in the Wii U version than I did on 3DS. Mostly because it was the HD console experience, it was the first one of the two that I got, and it was just a lot easier to play because of the larger controllers. Because I have big hands. I don't know if I've ever said that in a video, but I have really big, like, marshmallow hands. It's really weird. But I ended up enjoying the Wii U version quite a bit, and the visuals were fantastic. I love the music, and the stage selection was pretty good too, even if a lot of them were just taken for Brawl. And overall, it was just a fun time. And then, eventually, before Mewtwo got released, there was another Nintendo Direct on April 1st, 2015, showcasing Mewtwo once again before he got officially released, and also announcing Lucas, originally from Mother 3 and previously in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I didn't really play Lucas in Brawl. Like, I knew who he was, but I didn't really play as him all that much, and to have a returning character come back through DLC that I actually knew was kind of weird. It was still pretty cool though. So eventually Lucas gets announced for release at some point in 2015, and leaks happen, and as a result Sakurai decided to retaliate against the leaks and separate his portion of the E3 2015 Nintendo presentation from the actual presentation itself and have a separate thing right before E3 2015, which was probably for the better. And I had no idea that this was even going to happen, so I was kind of confused when I suddenly saw Miiverse posts with Roy and Ryu in them. But again, Ryu was there. Like, this was way too convincing to just be a hack. That had to have been DLC, right? And then I looked, and sure enough, there was new content approaching in the form of these new DLC fighters. Okay, well, one of them was coming back from a previous game, but whatever. So yeah, we actually got a new third-party character, and I didn't think it would happen, considering we already got Mega Man, and I wasn't sure how stingy Capcom would be with its character rights, but they gave it right over, and had a few remixes in there too. And we've got even more Street Fighter love coming in Smash Bros. Ultimate. And so, more time passes, and we get the Nintendo Direct in, I think it was November of 2015, where they announced Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. And I had no idea who that guy was. Like, I knew of Final Fantasy at that time, but I didn't know the specific characters, so this was just generic anime swordsman number 43 to me, despite the fact that he was actually the most beloved out of every single one in the roster, mostly because of how unexpected he was. And I had no idea who the guy was at the time, but I was still excited. Like seriously, any character that I'm not excited to play, they still managed to hype me up for. Except for the next one, Corrin from Fire Emblem Fates, because at this point, Echo Fighters did not exist yet, meaning that technically, Fire Emblem had more characters in its Smash Bros. Roster than Zelda. And that was just wrong. I don't care how good some of these characters are, that still is just wrong. That shouldn't happen. Zelda is one of the... It has legend in the name, alright? That tells you how important it is. And you're gonna put a bunch of generic anime characters in here? Are you kidding me? I know they're actually not anime. I'm just making a dumb joke because everyone else does that. So yeah, Corrin got in the game, and the only reason I was upset about him being there is because he was another Fire Emblem character. Because I really didn't think we needed another one of those, but here we are. Though after purchasing him and playing as him, I can say I'm fairly content with how he plays, and I would almost consider him one of my mains in Smash 4, but I didn't really play him enough to warrant that, so it never really happened. I still liked him though. And of course, at the end of the special December presentation, that also featured Corrin, we got the announcement of Bayonetta, and I freaked out because I expected this to happen a lot sooner. Like seriously, Bayonetta 2 came out on the Wii U a month before Smash launched. And with the character not getting in the initial roster, despite having this exclusive game, I didn't think it was possible. But no, it happened. It was real. And it was the final DLC character in the game. The one that broke the meta because no one actually wanted to ban her. Yeah, real smart, guys. Don't ban the broken character or anything. It's not like that would have helped. I was still freaking out about her inclusion when I got her. Partially because I had no idea how to play her. How do you use these combos? Oh my god. Safe to say, I never became a Bayonetta main, like, at any point. Simply because she was just so hard to use. Like, oh, good god. And so, the Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS content ended up coming to a close, with Bayonetta being the supposed winner of the fighter ballot, and all the other characters that people wanted getting turned into DLC costumes from Mii Fighters. I bought every single one of those, by the way. I feel like I should mention that as well. And so, I play Smash Bros. A bunch, and I have a good time. I play it online with people, and I didn't have as much fun there, but hey, it's something. And at some point after the DLC all came out, my school ended up launching a Super Smash Bros. Club, which I didn't think was actually a thing that could happen. You have the game where you beat people up as your main objective, and that's getting a club at school. My middle school, to be exact. It was very strange, but of course I'm gonna sign up for that. I don't care how crappy the club is. I get to spend time at school playing video games. And through this, I experienced Super Smash Bros. Melee firsthand, because prior to that point, I had never even touched the game before. Like, I had seen it at that point, but I never actually played it. So, I got into the room, and we had 3 CRT setups with GameCubes connected to each one, and we kind of just played Melee casually, and we had fun. It was a good time all around. As time went on, I kept going to the club more and more, and funny enough, this was originally supposed to be a Smash Bros. Melee club, but eventually just turned into the Smash Bros. Club just in general. And at some point or another, I actually used a separate email to launch a new channel for this club. These days, Smash Bros. Club isn't really a thing anymore, like the actual one at school, I mean, not the YouTube channel one. I mean, I suppose you could say that's fairly dead still, but what I want to try and do is rebrand it as the Nintendo Club, because there is a new Nintendo Club at our high school, and, well, yeah, it's pretty simple stuff, actually. So that means we get to play more than just Smash Brothers, which is nice, because that's kind of what we were doing anyway, but now it's actually justified. So that's nice. And so, I continue on about my life, playing Smash Brothers and other various video games, and I ended up getting an Xbox One and playing games like Halo the Master Chief Collection on there, as well as Sunset Overdrive, which are 2 games I love quite a bit. and I ended up growing to love my PS4 with games like Persona 5 and Crash Bandicoot the N. Sane Trilogy. But I was still a Nintendo fan at heart. I started playing games on their system before anyone else's, after all, so of course I'm going to keep supporting them in their systems. And eventually the Nintendo Switch launches, and we kind of all figured that Smash Bros. Would come to it eventually, but we just weren't sure when. And so the console launches. I ended up getting mine about 4 or 5 months after launch. Had a weird experience loading it up the first time, but it was still good in the end. And, well, I ended up using it quite a bit to play various games. Had a fun time with it and all, but then something unexpected happens. That unexpected event took place on March 8th, 2018. I remember it so distinctly. I actually decided to do a reaction video to a Nintendo Direct. So I sat down and got a recording set up ready for a reaction video to the March Direct. We get to the very end after the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion gets revealed, and the producers of the game say, "Before we go, we have one final announcement to present to you all." We cut to black. When it fades back in, we see Inklings playing around in what appears to be just some sort of white abyss. But I was very confused by it. It looked like that original trailer, but these were the Splatoon 1 Inklings, and we had just gotten info on Splatoon 2's DLC. It's weird enough that the base characters of Splatoon 2 look nothing like the ones from the first game, but we had just gotten Octolings. Like, you couldn't be any more different if you tried. So I was wondering what exactly was happening here. And then, suddenly, the Inkling void just disappears. And suddenly the surrounding area is enveloped in darkness. A bright light comes in from behind the Inkling girl. She turns around and is in utter shock of what she sees. And she's not the only one. Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Switch just got announced. And I was so confused. There were so many things going through my head at this point. Was it a port? Was it a new game? How is it getting announced in a random March Direct and not an E3 presentation? And just, what is happening? But one thing was for certain. A new Smash game was coming, whether we were ready for it or not. And little did we know what would soon follow with the E3 2018 presentation and the first bit of information we got on the new game. They gave us a little trailer showing us various characters that were going to be in the game. We weren't sure if this was the final roster or not, but it was nice that they were getting a bunch of characters that were returning or being cut out of the way early. However, they didn't say anything about a character being cut. As the trailer went on, we ended up seeing characters like Ice Climbers. All 3 Pokemon from the Pokemon Trainer are back. Wolf is there. Every character from Smash 4's DLC is returning. All the characters from Melee are coming back. All the characters from Brawl are here, including Solid Snake. And thus the tagline of the game is presented to us. Everyone is here. And that's when we knew we were in for a treat. Everyone is here. It's such a simple tagline, but it works so well. Every character from every previous iteration of Super Smash Bros. Was coming back, and they were being redefined, remade from the ground up in some cases, and implemented into the new experience. No one was getting cut. No one was getting removed from the game. Everyone that you ever knew from Smash Bros. Was here, and damn near every stage from those games too. And thus, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate gets announced, and we are excited. How'd you like that dramatic presentation? Did I do a good job with that one? So eventually we get to the August Nintendo Direct. I had just gotten back a few days prior from a special event that I'm not going to say just because I don't really think it's okay for me to say it. But the first Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct happened on August 8th, 2018, which was, funny enough, my birth month. So it was almost like an early birthday present from Nintendo. And what birthday present it was. And it was quite the special birthday presentation. Not because of Simon and Richter Belmont, or even King K. Rool getting added to the game. That was all fine, well, and good, but the character that I voted for in the Smash Bros. Ballot actually got in the game, finally. Yes, back when we had the Smash Bros. Fighter ballot on the Wii U and 3DS versions, I voted for Chrom. I didn't care if he was going to be a clone of someone else, I just thought he was really cool and I wanted him in the game. And it ended up happening. That was so weird to me. It happened. It was actually real. He was being put in as an Echo Fighter, sure, but he was still there. It was still really cool to see. Now, that's not to say I wasn't excited for any other characters in that direct. Oh no, I was excited for all of them. I want to play as all these characters. We got Castlevania in here. Both Simon and Richter Belmont. Like seriously, who would have thought Richter would actually make it into the game as a playable character? Like, maybe he would have been an assist trophy, maybe a side trophy in the game. Oh wait, no, there are no trophies in the game anymore, that's right. And we got King K. Rool, which I was pretty excited for, because I knew people wanted him in the game, and, well, here he is. And he looked pretty good, gotta say. And then the November Direct happened, and you all know how disappointing that was. Trophies are being removed, but we're gonna put it in this really convoluted spirits mode. Hope you guys enjoy. Oh wait, also here's a random Pokemon that most of you don't care about. A random Echo Fighter that should have been in the game a long time ago. And also a damn plant. Give us your money. I also like how the first thing that they showed after Piranha Plant's reveal was the fact that you could pre-purchase and preload the game on your Nintendo Switch at that very moment. It's almost like they're saying, hey, here's a really dumb character that no one asked for, give us your money. To this day, I am still upset about Piranha Plant's inclusion. I don't care if he's a free bonus, he's still dumb and I hate him. God, I'm never gonna get over that. And so that was the last batch of information that we got on the game prior to release, aside from some info at various public events that were held. And during this time period, there's actually something I forgot to mention. On my birthday, back in August of this year, I actually decided to invest in some amiibo. I got them from places like Amazon and Best Buy, and I actually have a wall of them right now. You guys are going to get the full details over the weekend with the last Smash Bros. Video. I was investing in all these because I didn't think I had nearly enough Smash Bros. Characters, because prior to investing, there were only 25 that I could use in the new game out of 73 total characters. I knew it was time to finally get some more, and so I invested in a bunch of these. I actually nearly doubled my collection in the time since I've started collecting them to now, and it's really cool to see. And I got my Smash Bros. GameCube controller on November 2nd when it launched. I already had a GameCube controller adapter, so I didn't need to use the new one that they released, and I didn't really want one either because I only had 4 GameCube controllers. And the only difference between the one I had for the Wii U version and the one that they had for the Nintendo Switch version is the fact that the Nintendo Switch version just says Nintendo on it. That's like the only difference from what I can tell. And the Wii U one says Wii U on it. That's really it. And aside from that, I can't really say anything else. And around the first week of November or so, I managed to pre-order a copy of the game as well as the Fighter Pass. I got them both off the eShop and preloaded them to my Nintendo Switch as soon as I could, thus further proving to you that I am ready. I want to have the best experience possible with this game, and so I invested money in order to make that experience possible. All the amiibo I could afford to get, the best controller to use for Smash Brothers, and of course the DLC pass with all the extra characters. If that doesn't tell you that I'm ready for this game, I have no idea what will. I started my journey a decade ago, and it's not stopping anytime soon, and it's not stopping now. I'm going full force into this new game, as I'm sure many of you are. And I'll see you all when we get there.